Hello, and welcome back to Father's Galaxy. I'm Keith, and this is my dad, Kerwin. In this episode, we interview Alden Diaz, host of Ahch-To Radio. We'll discuss how he got started in broadcasting, and we'll talk about D23. Let's get started.
Thank you for joining us. Our guest is Alden Diaz, one of the premier pop culture content creators. He is the co-host of Ahch-To Radio, The Mandatory and Creed, and a rewatch Between Worlds. He is a commentator who has the skill to engage his audience and start a conversation. Alden, welcome to Father-Son Galaxy.
Hey, well, first of all, I'm never leaving. After the great intros, I'm just gonna stay. I'm gonna live here now. No, but I'm so honored to be here, you guys. I was honored enough to have you on my show. Now coming on your show, it's gonna be really good times. Crushing it with that intro, young Lord, young Master Jedi over there. That was fantastic.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yeah, we could have said a lot more. We just wanted to keep it short so we could, talk to you, and we can't wait to. I'm sure there's a
Get
lot
on
we
with
can
the
discuss.
episode.
Yes,
Yeah, so much to talk about.
absolutely. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Of course.
So, like we mentioned, we admire your communication skills. So, could you tell us a little bit about how you got started in podcasting?
I can, yeah. I mean, it's funny because as I get further away from that point, it all feels like you can sort of put it in a different context and realize, oh, so that came from that came from this. I remember, having these little experiences and not realizing that I was preparing myself to be a broadcaster even before I started it. So I came up, always wanting to be an actor, and I always wanted to make movies. I shifted, later, maybe around your age, actually, to wanting to be a director. And so the entertainment was always the thing that was always going to be the move. There was no other option. I could not even picture myself mentally as a child being in a career that was not somehow in entertainment. And around middle school, and then especially in high school, getting more involved in theater and doing debate classes and stuff, national forensics and things like that, speech writing, speech orating. I realized how much I liked that, how much I liked being able to communicate an idea. And so when I was 14, I started doing like online comic book reviews and things like that, writing for websites and everything. Which you should always make sure that people know what you're doing on the internet. If you're 14, do not just go out and get gigs. I'm not condoning it. But I did. And and I went around reviewing like, oh, Batman Arkham City came out. Like, let's talk about that video game, or let's talk about, the new Iron Man 2, or like whatever was coming out around that time. And I got invited on a podcast with a bunch of people that were all in college or, professionals. And I was there 14 years old, just having gotten there on the back of my own words. And I had already, my voice has sounded like this since I was like 12. So over audio and video, over audio only, it's very, it was believable at the time that I was older than I was. And I just got the bug for it, wanted to have my own shows. After high school, I wanted to go to film school. That didn't work out. So I worked some jobs for a while, trying to save money and everything until I'm from Connecticut originally. I live in Florida now, but there's the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, which has since evolved and changed into the CSB Media Arts Center, because they have like more digital age stuff that they've added since. And they opened up campuses down the East Coast until they got one not 15 minutes away from my apartment at the time. And so I was like, well, that's just like, if I don't at least try, because it's like a year-long thing, then I'm a fool if I don't at least see if I can actually do it. And then I did it. And that's how I got in. And I met, so some of my instructors and teachers were professionals that were doing that on the side. And so they were working with iHeartRadio. And I got in at iHeart as an assistant producer. And that was 4 years ago, which is pretty crazy. The last 2 years shouldn't count, frankly. But yeah, they do. So 4 years.
So from what we can see on your social media pages, though,
Mhm.
you're a fan of science fiction, like you said, and fantasy. So what were some of the films, books, and TV shows that you found inspirational?
Well, I'm gonna put Star Wars on the shelf for this answer, just because if I say like, well, it was Return of the Jedi, we're all gonna be like, ah, yeah, same here. And then that's not an answer. We can unpack that as we go down the Star Wars talk today. But the stuff that was like other than that, I mean, I grew up on Marvel and DC comics, so I was always watching whatever was new in that regard. The 2003 Daredevil with Ben Affleck as Daredevil was one of the first things that I had on VHS. So I had a set roster of VHS tapes that were mine. My sister, who's 8 years older than me, she was never in the same like life category that I was in because you have a sibling. So but you guys are a little bit closer in age, but still you'll be able to maybe be in the next grade that he's not in, and so like that always will be a thing sort of in the back of your mind. And for her to be 8 years older, like we didn't share interests. She was, when I was starting kindergarten, she was in the 8th grade. Like, so it was completely different. I got to second grade and she started high school. It's a totally different thing. So I had my movies, and there was things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990, or like I said, Daredevil. Harriet the Spy was in there, which isn't sci-fi fantasy, but like a very precocious character sneaking around, had her own sort of methodology. I loved The Princess Bride. Yeah, so Lord of the Rings. I was fortunate to have my mom has 3 brothers. So even though my mom's not really nerdy about that stuff, she has her own nerd stuff. uh three uncles that were all had their own areas. One of my uncles loved pro wrestling and got me into pro wrestling. One of my uncles loved Lord of the Rings. One of my uncles loved video gaming. So I just was all about it. It's hard pressed to find something in sci-fi fantasy that I won't watch. It's just a matter of time. Now it's just a time game. Oh, Alden, did you watch Outlander? Alden, did you watch The Expanse? And it's like I would love to. I can't. There's like right now I'm watching Rings of Power, She-Hulk, any Star Wars that happens to drop at any point, which is about to happen.
And yeah.
Yeah, House of the Dragon. Now Tales of the Jedi will be on at least somewhat at the same time as Andor. There will be a tiny cross. So it's just a packed moment, but I like it all.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, it's so much content out there. You're right. It's just time. When can you make the time to see all of it? Yeah, but you have to choose at some point. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, with content, you feel like if you don't watch it immediately when it comes out, that you're behind everybody
Right.
else. Everybody else has seen it, and then
Right.
at some point maybe you lose interest in it. Okay, well, since that was 6 months ago, now I no longer want to see it. But it's unfortunate, that it's fortunate and unfortunate because it's nice that you have such great content out there. It's amazing.
Hmm.
If you talk about what we had 30 years ago and we had just the broadcast channels.
Wasn't that much.
Yeah, we didn't, you could choose, right? Because it wasn't a lot, I would say, of quality television out there. But so
Yeah,
we're living in a good place right now.
we absolutely are. I mean, it's like you said, it's this bevy of different content, different stories, and the culture of keeping up with it does sort of change the way you watch it. If you two didn't have this show, you might feel like, oh, okay, well, we're a little bit more beholden to our own schedule, but now it's like, okay, well, we need to be in the conversation as well. You can see it in your. I'm sure you've experienced some of this where it's like slowly but surely after like a year of doing this, you realize, oh, my episodes about the shows that are coming out do way bigger numbers than my episodes that are just about topics. If I go to like my top 10 most listened to episodes of Ahch-To Radio, like 4 of them are Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes and 2 of them are Book of Boba episodes. Like people like the zeitgeist of now. It's like that's something that human beings just do. Oh, it's the new album. It's the new album from my favorite artist, my favorite singer. It's the new that's I gotta go opening weekend, and I'm guilty of that too. Like Marvel movie tickets go up. I'm seeing that Thursday night, no exceptions. If you're coming, you're coming. If you're not, you're not. I'm still going without you. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, especially with Star Wars. I don't ever want to be behind in this because it's my favorite thing, and I never thought we would get this much at once.
Let's talk about social media. On Twitter, You have a skill of starting a conversation, whereas multiple people want to respond
Mm-hmm.
regarding your commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Was it important to you as a content creator? Was it important to you
Mm-hmm.
to connect to an audience using social media?
Yeah, it absolutely was important because sometimes you'll find, at least I have found, that the mentality, I'm a firm believer in the mentality of like going out and finding your people, in terms of interests, in terms of pop cultural like intrigue, in terms of just the way you like to analyze things. And Kevin Smith once said, like, don't go find the why people that when you express something they say why. Go find the people that say why not, like why not try that, why not, like why not is such a better response of like, oh, let's unpack this, let's talk about why this Star Wars character is the way that he is beyond just what we saw, but what beyond we can read into it. The people that say, yeah, why not do that, there is something bigger there, there is something deeper there, those are the people that I've always gravitated toward. Like in the Book of Boba Fett, when he said you won't get far without a tribe, I was like, yes, like that's what that show is by the end of it, it's this colorful group of characters that should not logically apologies, should not logically be together. Like Black Chrysanthemum and Fennec and these colorful mods, like it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense because they all came together for the same thing. So with that, I've always felt really comfortable in English classes and history classes, kicking around ideas with teachers and other students. That was always my favorite thing. Like in high school, was we read a novel and then we sit around and we talk about it. Because to me, that was like as a teenager, that was, oh, this isn't work. Like that's just exciting. That's just cool. Like we get it. There's something fun to the hidden language of what we do. So like you guys were at Star Wars Celebration, so was I. That's a place that is so particular because it's a place where you can go around and say like, "Hey, do you remember when Ahsoka Tano did this?" And everybody will get it. Everybody will say, "Yes, I do remember that," and they all have a story about it. Out in the real world, that doesn't really happen. It'll happen more as she becomes more and more mainstream, or as all these shows start to bubble up. But it's a thing of finding your people. So with that, I've always felt like there's a better conversation caliber that we can attain. We just have to choose to attain it. So when people like Book of Boba Fett's a great example. That was a big like that and Bad Batch were big conversational sticking points where there was a lot of arguing, there was a lot of trying to cut through the noise. And when somebody says, "Well, I wish they'd made a Boba Fett show about Boba Fett," it's like, okay, that's like a very like surface level one thing, but let's unpack why they did what they did, not necessarily what we wanted them to do, which is a huge distinction. Once you let go of what you want and start taking things on the terms of the work, then you'll always feel better. So I try to lead with that and hope that the next kids, the kids, even Keith and maybe even younger than you, like the kids that are tiny right now will come up and or will just be something that exists. Like they won't know that it's new and they'll be able to approach it a different way. That's why I've said the sequel kids is a whole other tangent, but the sequel kids are my hope for the future. The people that grew up, the sequel Rebels kids, that age group, when their prequel renaissance happens, they're going to be unstoppable. Oh yeah, when I was 5 years old, I loved Ray. They're not going to know about all the noise because it's not going to matter. And so it's always just like the perspective is beyond you to a certain degree.
When you write a tweet, it's not just a simple tweet.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a thread where you're giving a thoughtful, complex commentary. And
Yeah.
I want to know, like, when you're doing something like that, something that complex and something that thought out, how long does it take you to create a tweet like that? And do you choose your words carefully? Because, sometimes you may say something, when you, especially when you're tweeting, you don't want to say anything that's going to offend anyone. So do you spend
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time choosing the words that you're going to say when you tweet?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can tell which ones I've chosen my words more carefully on because they get less blowback. Like it's you have to be able to be conscious of the space and unfortunately conscious of what the bad faith element of the space will be. Because you can have a thought and you can know that no reasonable person would ever jump to a conclusion. But us as creators, we have to jump to the unreasonable conclusions. in your mind. You need to have an image of whoever, whatever kind of person they are in your brain, and to think about that person as worst case scenario. How would a really angry, unreasonable person spin this? Like, it's something that you have to think about sometimes, as
Right.
much as we should not have to, but you do. And so yeah, I put a lot of thought into all of those. Sometimes, like the one that sort of gave me a reputation as being like a thread commentator was the Mandalorian season 2 thread about Luke. There were a lot of people saying that because he did something so cool and hardcore and actiony, that it was trying to make up for or refute the more somber Luke in The Last Jedi. And I was not having that. I was so frustrated hearing that. So I that for those 3 days between that episode and the next work week, I was just kicking around these thoughts in my mind, and I was like trying to come up with a tweet and trying not to. And then I just was like, I can't stop writing these. And you could set them all up for people that aren't on Twitter in advance. You don't need to just add and add and add. You could write them all. And I realized, like, oh, I have like a 20-part thing here that I said. And I've just sort of kept doing that because some points need your thorough eye. Like, some of them need a longer explanation. I don't think that we should undercut anything. It's always better to over deliver. When everybody like that hears me give an answer to any question knows that that's what I think, because I always try to do that. So yeah, it's a complicated thing, and up until recently, that was just a choice that I would make. But as of at the time of this recording, days ago, Star Trek, the other big Star franchise, actually picked me up on and to do a piece for Star Trek Day. So that was sort of an exercise in doing what I was already doing, but as an independent contractor, actually, like, dollars were exchanged for the thoughts, which was very gratifying. And they're a great team over there.
Wow, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Nice. Wow. It's wonderful that they're able to find you. There was a recent Twitter post where you let your followers comment with their favorite thing about you. And I looked at that thread and I wrote down some things that were said about you. And I just wanted to read a few of those quotes, if you don't mind.
Please.
Yeah. So one person said that the clarity and intelligence that comes through via your voice.
My line.
Yes, I apologize. You go ahead. Go ahead. You can read that.
Yeah, the clarity and intelligence that comes through via your voice.
Yes.
Unquote.
Yes. That was one. The next one is, I like how you have a point of view on things that opens up new facets of appreciation. You were the first person in the content space that I heard talking about The Rise of Skywalker as not only good, but great.
I know you're a person who genuinely cares. I also like that you're interested in a lot of things, in a lot of different things. You went out of your way to provide some great advice. You promote positivity in an incredibly articulate way across all fandoms you love. We need more of that in the world. How does it make you feel hearing all those comments?
It's difficult, right? Because I advise people to not drink their own Kool-Aid, so to speak. Like, don't buy in. And there's a difficult balance to be had there, which is very Star Wars. There's you can be proud of what you do. Like, I would say Kit Fisto, absolutely proud of what he does. You see that man smiling whenever he's out there on a Jedi mission. Obi-Wan loves being a Jedi. In the heyday, stopping for a drink, swashbuckling, cracking a little line, hitting his signature pose. Like, those are all things that somebody that likes their job does. But obviously, pride is also it's the root of all their issues. It's the hubris that allowed them to get taken advantage of.
Pride cometh before the fall.
Exactly, always, every time. And as Count Dooku says, double the pride, double the fall, double the power, double the fall, double the pride, something like that. The trivia masters are like, you got the line wrong. I'm way more of a themes and ideas person than I am a get every detail right person. The details that I love. The details that I don't know about, like, I don't know the names of every blaster. I just don't. I'm sorry. But that I need you for that. You're gonna be my lore consultant. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate all those things. I love hearing them.
Is it a
Is it a
pain?
is it a paying? Yeah, I can
Okay.
I could pay. I can give you calamari flan, but I can only pay half. So I hope that's okay. A little season one reference for you there. I actually have some calamari flan. I was trying to grab them, but I used to have them on my desk kind of thing, but they're in my closet. But I it's hard because you want to accept the compliments and you want to internalize them, but you always there's a certain paranoia I think that comes with like putting yourself out there because when you make the choice to do this, as you two know, you've been covered by papers, you've been covered by outlets, you've been covered by magazines, you had a panel, you've done all these things, you've had these interviews. When you make the transition to being a public facing individual, the Kerwin and Keith that you create for public consumption is parts who you are in private and parts who you like to be here in this context. So the Alden Diaz that they consume is the Alden Diaz that is carefully curated for them to consume. So it's like you can get all of those things and I can be proud of them because I did them and because I made someone think them, and that's great. But at the same time, on my end, I might be going through a bunch of other things. So it almost ends up being not so much the cherry on top, but it ends up being like a different kind of ice cream altogether. You know, if we're like sometimes you just got to think in food sometimes, people. I'm sorry. But you know, it's not a it's satisfying something completely different. It's almost like a bomb more than it is like an earned reward or something. Because you know, I've had a series recently of very fortunate moments with the show and with the Star Trek opportunity and a couple other things, and some things that are in the works. And I'm very excited about all of them. But there's always that voice in my head, and not everyone has this. This is just me. That's like, it's gonna stop soon. So just be ready. Like, you know, the other shoe will drop. And so you always have to be the humbling. The humbling will come, which is a good thing to keep in your mind, I think.
Okay. And now, since we're done with the questionnaire part, let's
Yes.
head into our discussion at D23, which actually happened this weekend. On the Marvel and Star Wars announcements were made
Yes.
yesterday. And I think today they're doing stuff with like Disney parks and all.
Mm-hmm.
They give you away log cuttings. But what are some of the projects you're looking forward to? And were there any memorable moments from D23 you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I have to lead with Ahsoka as a series
Yes.
because you know there was a little sizzle that was played at Celebration back in May, and I don't know if you were in the room for the sizzle. Did you guys get to see that?
No, we didn't see
Yeah,
I
it.
I
kind of.
was I yeah I
Me
didn't
too.
either. I
Oh, I
was
see. Okay, afterwards.
yeah
Mhm.
I was on air. I was on air. I was on our panel when it was happening. They booked us against Dave and John. You're gonna lose that battle. But I remember telling a friend of mine at Celebration who was at the panel, I said, if Sabine Wren is announced or gets brought out, text me. I'm gonna have my phone while I'm on the panel. Just if I see my phone light up, I'll know. And yes, so I was already excited about that. Sabine Wren is one of my favorite characters. It's kind of difficult to see, but up here is her final helmet from Star Wars Rebels,
Oh,
the one
wow. How about
from
that?
the epilogue.
Cool.
So
Very
the
nice.
one that now she's wearing in these live action shots. So it's a weird full circle moment. She's my favorite character in Star Wars, right next to Han, who's been my lifelong favorite. And to see her realized and to know that not only is it more Ahsoka, to know that not only are we going to see Chopper, but we have Hera, we have Ezra. Like I love Rebels so deeply, and the way that this show sounds is like it's like a stew that's like some Rebels, some Mandalorian, obviously, because that version of Ahsoka, but then also is Anakin's ghost going to be in it? Seems maybe like it based on what we've heard. So it's like a little bit of every era of Ahsoka is going to come together in one project,
Mhm.
with all these things. So
Maybe we
that's number
see
one.
Zeb.
Seeing Zeb fully realized as a giant CG creature, like a giant, beastly type, even partly practical. I don't know. That would be a hard one to pull off, but I'd love to see them try and do it for sure. I love that character. So that was my number one thing, was just seeing the photo of the Rebels mural and all that. But outside of that, they didn't do Acolyte stuff because that's filming right now, so I don't blame them for that. But I was really into Tales, and I got to see the first Tales at Celebration at
So
that
did
panel.
we.
Oh,
You were there
it's
at that panel?
beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, I was there for that one. It
Yeah, with
is,
Ahsoka and her mother.
yeah, so good, and I can't wait to see the rest of them. What about you? What was your number one?
At D23, you mean?
Yeah,
I think it'd have to be seeing all the new trailers we got, like The
mm,
Mandalorian, Secret
yeah,
Invasion. And
yeah.
also it was, you know what else was funny?
Mm.
Reading Twitter after the Fantastic Four
Yeah.
part of the panel.
Well, we were going to get to that. Yeah, the rumor.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yo, Twitter
That was
was
fantastic.
lit up. I kid you not. It
Yeah.
looked like New York City at night in there. With all those tweets just kept popping up, and everybody was upset about the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't say I blame them either because everyone was like, "We're gonna get some casting announcements. We might even get a trailer." Nope.
Well, that
Not
leads.
this time,
Yeah.
Sonny boy.
Well, that leads us into our next question then. So
Yeah,
yeah,
whenever these big events come out,
Right.
like D23, the rumor mill always comes back, and
Yeah.
it's a vengeance.
right.
Yeah,
And
always.
you could just more and more rumors
And
piled up and added. And everything got more interesting as
Yeah.
we got closer to D23.
yeah, and people's imagination just run wild. The closer you get to the date of the event.
Mhm.
I mean, those rumors out there were just unbelievable. But I just want to know if there was a rumor that you might have heard that you were hoping would come true.
Specifically for Fantastic Four or for
Anything
anything?
related to D23? Any
Um,
you heard about?
well, part of me was hoping that the new Ezra Bridger would be there. But I also understand that was not their choice for that to be reported on. So that's a more complicated one. In terms of the Fantastic Four, it was and still is a rumor that Jodie Comer from Killing Eve and other projects that you
And
probably
Free
won't be
Guy.
able to watch for a while, Keith. And Free Guy, yes, and Free Guy. There's a
I
project.
saw Free Guy. I like
So, yeah, because she does a lot of adult stuff, but she's in Free Guy. She's also Rey's mom, Miramir, in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah,
She
had a very small role.
Yeah, she's just there. All she has is that one line, gives her a little hug and leaves, but that's her. So that she might be Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman, which would be really, really fun and cool. I would really dig that. The Reed Richards situation could go about 10 different ways, and I would be fine with any of them. Whether Krasinski plays a different Reed now or a main Reed, because obviously, Multiverse of Madness did not work out great for Reed Richards, or anyone in that group.
Smartest man in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Smartest man in the universe
said-
announces their plan right when the fight starts. This is Black Bolt. He can take you out with what? It's like, you could have just stayed quiet and it would have worked.
Like, man, just zip your lips.
But that's
You
Reed's
got
fatal flaw
spaghetti
in the
his mouth
comics.
afterwards.
Reed's fatal flaw is being so smart that he's dumb.
Yeah.
It's an arrogant level of genius.
Like Ock said, like smart but lazy. or something like that.
Yeah.
Brilliant but lazy. Yeah. But yeah, I was really excited about all those things. I think that the Marvel stuff that they did show was great. I did not expect Ke Kwan to show up now for Loki season 2.
Yeah.
So because there was a picture of him going around before the Marvel section. So while Star Wars was still rolling out, a picture on social media had Ke Kwan, Kathleen Kennedy, and Frank Marshall, and I thought, oh my God, he's gonna be announced for Indiana Jones 5, and then psych, it was for Loki. But it's like they were both there. Like, oh, I want a short round appearance in Indy 5 so badly as like a grown up adventurer, driver, or something to help Indy. But
maybe
maybe
still.
Yeah, and who's to say that won't happen?
Could be.
You don't know. They're probably keeping that secret.
Yeah, and everything we saw from that was exciting. The only other thing that maybe I would have hoped for that didn't happen was an Indiana Jones title. So just a title. They're not ready for that at that point. Some people think the movie is called Indiana Jones, which I really hope is not true.
Yeah, Dad was suspecting that.
Yeah, it feels more and more likely now that that's what they mean. But I'm hoping it's like episode 7, 8, and 9 and Solo, where they called it one thing for a while and then they did a proper moment. I remember Ron Howard, when he took over Solo, he did that video of him with a card that had the title on it, Solo, a Star Wars story. He was like, our movie's called Solo. And we were all like, yeah, Ron, that's what we've been calling it. But you didn't need to tell us that. We assumed that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but aside from that, like yeah, there weren't a lot of rumors that I was like, this is gonna happen or I need this to happen. I was more excited in terms of what are they gonna show? Because I also, my ear is to the ground. I hear things. I hear things that I've never made it onto a podcast and never will. True things. And I've was sort of what I expected. No movies. I knew it was gonna be Disney Plus focused. Um, but I didn't. One thing I did not expect. I didn't expect to see an image from Skeleton Crew. That was very cool. You see Jude Law with these what look like the Jabba security droids, two of them at him, and all the kids behind him. We know it's going to be a kid-focused show. What's that going to be like? I did not expect to see the cast, the character designs for the cast of Young Jedi Adventures. That was really cool. Whoever that little blue thing is, I love them already. But yeah, they made some interesting moves for sure.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
I didn't know they showed a photo.
Well, yeah, they have it's like a teaser poster, maybe.
Yeah, it's it's the
Would have
big
been.
logo, and then on the
Yeah,
bottom you
it's
see
on
like
Twitter. You can find it on
kids.
Twitter. It's a
Yeah.
Twitter post. What I love, we're just mentioning Ke Quan. The photo of Ke Quan and Harrison Ford, giving each other a hug.
Yeah.
That's a priceless photo, and I saw different versions of it going around
Mm-hmm.
on social media. I thought that was wonderful. So yeah.
And 38 years. 38 years since
Yes.
they'd been together is it's absolutely wild. And Ke Quan had retired, comes back now with that amazing performance earlier this year and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's been a really magical time for reunions. People get really down on nostalgia sometimes, but like it always makes people feel good.
Yeah.
It's good to return.
It's so well deserved for him, So we were wondering what happened, after Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and he was gone for many number of years. And he did an interview with Jimmy Kimmel. And he explained why he was gone. There just wasn't enough roles for people that look like him, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. But I'm so glad that he's getting the credit he deserves now. Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Let's move into Podathon. So
Yes.
Ahch-To Radio and Father Son Galaxy are fortunate enough to be a part of the Podathon for
Mhm.
2022. But I believe, were you a part of this Podathon from the very beginning?
No, I wasn't. So the first year I was unaware of it because I think it would think it had a slightly had the same idea, but I think it was a slightly different form the first year with some other channels or people that maybe aren't in the space anymore. But then the second year I was aware of it and I wasn't on the roster. I sent in a message last year and a video message and I had said if you need anyone next year, let me know. I'd be happy to do it. And so this year, this is the first year that I've been involved. And because we sort of, as you know, we all had the freedom to sort of do what we wanted, talk to who we wanted, sort of, make it whatever we wanted it to be. I was like, well, I'm going to aim as high as I possibly can for a guest, and kind of worked out. So
And you're going to be interviewing Rian Johnson on Podathon, the
yes.
director of The Last Jedi and Knives Out, which
Mhm.
the sequel is coming to.
Yes.
Why did you pick Rian Johnson to interview?
Well,
I know The Last Jedi is, kind of what your podcast name is based off of, Ahch-To.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there was a heavily featured planet there. It's always played a deep role since it came out, a deep role in my fandom and my personal enjoyment of Star Wars. Well, what I'll share here, full disclosure, yeah, he wasn't the first idea. Not that I didn't want to, of course I did, but that felt very unattainable. The original idea, which I'm still hoping happens down the road, is just that this gentleman couldn't do it at the time for Marvel related reasons. I wanted to have Alden Ehrenreich on to talk about being Han Solo and bill the interview as Alden on Alden. That was the whole idea because I had never known anyone else that had the same name as me because it's not a common name. And then the guy playing my favorite character has my name. And so that was always like I love this guy. But he couldn't do it because he was filming.
Yeah,
And then
again?
he's in Ironheart
Oh
is what
yeah.
he's gonna be in. and they showed him in the D23 footage. I haven't seen it, but it was just in the room. But he's in the footage because his people told me, oh, he's filming, but he's sorry he can't. And then I was like, oh, that's fine. 2 days later, Alden Ehrenreich cast an Ironheart. I was like, oh, that's why. But so then I thought, well, I gotta keep aiming high. So I sent a bunch of emails. Some I heard back, some I didn't. I never heard anything. Um, and then I cold just reached out to Ryan and through his people, and they hit me back almost immediately, like a day and a half later, and they just said like it was like the easiest thing. It's been harder to book people we know. It's been harder to book some of our friends than it was to book this guy. He's like, I'm in. And they said, what do you want to ask? I said, I want to ask these. And they said, okay. They didn't run anything up the chain. Nothing happened because he doesn't work there anymore. Like, you come in, do your gig and leave. So he sort of has the freedom to, I'm sure he would, give them the courtesy if it was, he was going to reveal something, but he didn't, so the conversation was exactly what I wanted it to be. I had the freedom to ask whatever I wanted. We were on that call for over an hour, going wherever we wanted to go, in and out of the movie, talking about, and not just Last Jedi stuff. He talks about his favorite parts of Obi-Wan. He talks about Rise of Skywalker a little bit. He talks about Mandalorian a little bit. So yeah, it's pretty expansive for sure. And he's a sweetheart. He's exactly as sweet as you want him to be, which is not always the case. Unfortunately, people have their days. They have good days. They have bad days. And some people they surprise you. Oh, you're more quiet than I thought you would be. Oh, you're louder than I thought you would be. You're more excitable. Like you just, sometimes it's a surprise. Ryan Johnson is exactly the person he appears to be in all the footage and stuff.
Wow, well, we look forward to hearing that interview. So the Podathon is coming up this Saturday, September 17th. It starts at 9 a.m. As we said, Ahch-To Radio and Father Son Galaxy will be two of the content creators that you'll see on Saturday. We're looking forward to it. It is for a great cause.
Make-A-Wish Foundation?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we just want to make sure that we get that in. And if you have not donated to the Podathon, please go to thepodathon.com. You can take a look at who will be there, the content creators and their guests. And also, just find out more about what the Make-A-Wish Foundation does. They bring smiles to young people's faces there when they're going through the most challenging times that a child could ever face. So your money is going to a great cause, a worthy cause. So we ask if you please support the Make-A-Wish Foundation and watch the Podathon on Saturday, September 17th. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Alden, this has been a pleasure having you.
It's over?
Yeah, this has been great.
Yes.
I know. It went by so quickly.
It went pretty quick, didn't it? I mean, Alden, he's like, he has the golden voice, you know what I mean? Like the velvety voice where you can just listen to him for hours.
You should be an audiobook narrator.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, I am not kidding.
Do an audiobook? I've thought about it. I would be lying if I said I hadn't preliminarily looked into some of that. My friend Ken Knapsack, it's buried in my shelf. I would have to go dig it out, but he wrote a book called Why We Love Star Wars: The Great Moments That Built a Galaxy Far, Far Away, and he did the audiobook for it. So I love the idea of writing something like that. I've kicked around a few of those ideas. I've always been threatening to write a book, and sometimes I get further into that than other times, but I would love to do something like that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I write books.
I know you do. Yeah, see, you're gonna get there first, and then you're gonna have to use some of your publishing deal to fund the rest of us. To the old timers like me.
How about that?
When I'm rich, I plan on donating lots of money to charities.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Please give back. Yeah. And Alden, I see that book in your future. So, I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So hopefully down the road. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything because I know we always plug what's upcoming. It's I can't really talk about certain things that are upcoming. I can say people have joked oh, what are you going to do next? Interview J.J. Abrams? Don't think I haven't tried. Do not think I haven't. She's a hard man to pin down. But yeah, Podathon, please. Again, that's the main thing to emphasize. Donate to those kids that are fighting battles that I can't imagine, that a lot of people can't imagine. And if you can imagine it, if you have experienced it, like our friend Mark from Tarkin's Top Shelf was a Make-A-Wish child years ago, and the work that they do there is just incredible for people. So definitely check that out. And I guess I'll see you gentlemen during Andor season, because that comes right after.
Absolutely. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, Alden?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at that Alden Diaz, THATALDENDIAZ. Tweeting a lot, Instagramming a little. And you can find me on Ahch-To Radio, AHCHTO Radio, Star Wars Podcast. It's my show, Tori Fox's show, and then the Rebels Rewatch show that we do. Lots of different topics. We just had Mercedes Varnado on, who played Koska Reeves in The Mandalorian season 2. She's also perhaps best known as a WWE champion, or many times over WWE Women's Champion Sasha Banks. Is also Snoop Dogg's cousin. So for some fun trivia for you, his first cousin. And yeah, so she was delightful, super sweet, super insightful. Ryan Johnson is after that, and then some other fun stuff down the road. And you might see me on a certain red carpet in a few days. So outside of that, yeah, just follow along and keep watching Father Son Galaxy because they're nothing but good vibes. Nikki and I, my buddy Nikki, who co-hosts Rewatch with me, we always say when the when the pod apocalypse comes and all the shows fall and the heavens fall on all the microphones, Father and Son will be the remaining show, the heroes in a lost world, the heroes of Atlantis.
Oh,
After it all crumbles.
that's wonderful. Thank you for that. All right. Thank you. Where can people find us, Keith?
Well, you already know you can find us if you listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Radio Public, Amazon Music, Audible, yada, 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 yada. And then check out our socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Father Son Galaxy. Visit our website, fathersongalaxy.com, and please donate to our Patreon page so we can keep making content like this.
Wonderful. All
And
right.
there's Spreaker page. Don't forget Spreaker.
All right. Thank you once again. So Alden Diaz, thank you from Ahch-To Radio. Thank you for being our guest. This was truly a pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Thank you once again, everyone, for tuning in and listening or watching us. So until next time, take care, and we will see you again.